Hey, this is Kyle Carver from Strong Dads. Strong Dads podcast would love to thank the Crimers Beer House for coming alongside of us. The Crimers Beer House was started in 1982 by the Crimer family, and since that time, they have definitely become a Cincinnati favorite. So if you're looking for an incredible meal in an incredible setting, definitely go down to Route 128 and check out the Crimers Beer House.
Hey, this is Merle Hutchinson. We want to welcome everybody to Strong Dads. Thanks, guys, out there for tuning in. Man, we have a great show lined up for us today. And I have gotten rid of Kyle and replaced him with a powerhouse. Not really, just temporarily. Kyle's out doing some different stuff today. And so we have a special guest that we've brought in today. And man, this is a guy that actually, before I expose the name, I want to talk a little bit about just how I came to know this gentleman. I'm a big believer, and I've said this, I've worked in the schools for a long time. We put way too much emphasis on celebrating diversity, because diversity is sometimes challenging. We need to celebrate similarity. And when I want to try to get to know somebody, I have to find things that I have in common with first. And that's exactly what happened when I started coming across this guy's name. We have way too many things in common. And so that's what led me to reach out to him. One of them is that we like to challenge and encourage dads. Another is that we're both personal trainers. And do a lot of fitness stuff, which that's just weird anyway, right? Like, who likes to work out? Yeah, I don't know. I do. We have a podcast. That's a little weird. Not a whole lot of people have a podcast. We're both husbands and fathers and believe in that very much so. And I think the thing that really was kind of the final kicker for me was the idea that this gentleman is also a follower of Christ. And so after I pursued a little more and we started to make contact, I was like, this is a guy that I want to get to know more. I want to see how he's doing life and how he's serving others, and see how I can benefit and how we can both serve each other. So without any more further ado, I would like to welcome Michael Ashford from the Fit Dad Fitness Podcast and the author of The Involved Man into the Strong Dads Podcast. Michael, how are you?
Doing great, man. Great to connect with you again. Always good to chat about dad stuff, fitness stuff, right?
Yeah, heck yeah. So Colorado, we snowing today or what? What's going on in Colorado?
We're not snowing yet, but we're going to. They're saying we're going to get dumped with 20 inches of snow this weekend at least. Some models are like 48 inches of snow.
No way.
My life. So, and it's been 60 degrees the last 3 days. So that's
that's the one thing out in Colorado. You can get sunshine and then snow, just like, snap of the fingers.
And that, for me, if I'm going to live in a place that's snowy, not loving the snow at all, that's how it's got to be for me. It's got to be, okay, if you're going to snow, I need it gone in 2 days. And that's for the most part how Colorado is.
So are you a skier?
No, you're not going to find me on a ski slope.
No, but I know you're into hiking and stuff like that. So you're out in the mountains, but not necessarily skiing.
And the hiking here is epic, man. It is phenomenal. I love to hike the very tallest mountains we've got out here. It's great.
Yeah. Isn't there like the 14,000 club or something out there?
Yep. We call them 14ers. They're the peaks that rise above 14,000 feet. And there are 56 of them in Colorado. And I've probably done 10. So
really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. So about what altitude do you live at right now?
We're at about 6,500 feet. So we're about 1,000 feet above a mile.
Yeah. So if I just came to visit you, I'd have a hard time because right about there,
Yeah.
So how's it feel at 14,000 feet?
Oh, once you get up there, man, you're seeing the world how God created it. I feel it's as close to it as possible because, you've been in airplanes and we've looked down around the ground, but you're outside and you're standing on that peak, and it just, all I can do up there, man, is pray.
Yeah.
Like seriously, every mountain peak that I've gone on top of, I've prayed over the land. I've just taken in the view. I can't describe it. My breath, it takes your breath away for other reasons than air.
Yeah, that's a great point. Michael, that's an interesting thing that you bring up. I am by trade originally a science teacher, and taught at the science levels for about 12 years. And it was really interesting to me because I was going through that battle of the science world versus my Christianity. And there's a lot of people that I don't, I get it. They want to prove everything by science. And my mindset is that I want to see proof. But every time I did anything science related, whether it was looking at a cell through a microscope or climbing up on top of one of these mountains, I was like, oh my God, there is a God, and so to me, God's nature is one of the most telltale signs to me that there is no question. And so it's really interesting. The longer I taught science, the more I learned about the body, the more I was like, there's no way there is not a God. Yeah.
You see him in everything, man.
Yeah. It's just amazing. So anyway, that's really cool that you, it takes your breath away in that way. Yeah. Hey, I want to get into some of what you do, some of what we can share with our strong dads and anybody else that we can get out there to listen. And but before we do, let me run a couple quick thank yous to our sponsors out there, and then let's get into this. Okay. Absolutely. All right. So Strong Dads would like to thank the Crimers Beer House for coming alongside of us and continuing to support the work that we do. Man, if you want a great meal and a great setting, you need to go check out Mark Crimers Beer House down on Route 128. And Michael, not to get weird, but if you want to see something cool, you got to see the urinal at the Crimers Beer House. I mean, I know that's really weird, but Mark Crimer, he's a friend of ours. He's also a craftsman. He works with wood, he works with metal, and he made a men's urinal out of a beer keg. And it's just cool. It's cool.
That's an important thing. It's important.
It is a very important thing. Like, I don't even have to go to the bathroom, and I have to go in there and just check out the keg. So, and besides that, they have incredible food. So we want to thank Crimers Beer House. Also, I want to just thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions. Casey's is a premier garden center, landscape center located in Southeast Indiana, and really premier work in the tri-state area of Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, and Southeast Indiana. So for any of your landscape needs, contact Casey's Outdoor Solutions. They do amazing work, especially I know Casey is really into the hardscapes, brick walls, stone walls, whatever. So if you're looking for something really cool in that direction, contact Casey. His number is 812-537-3800. All right. So Michael, give us a little bit of background about yourself, just to get people started. What are you about? What drives you?
Well, I'm a Midwest guy, born and raised, although, living on the Front Range of the Rockies now, but grew up on Kansas City barbecue, which is the best in the world. And I will fight you on that if you disagree.
Well, I heard Texas was, but okay, if you want to say.
Good. They're not as good. Yeah. I'm sure you just lost some listeners there. Yeah. Grew up on the Kansas side of the state line there in Kansas City.
That's a big deal too. Yeah. Right. You're not in the Missouri side.
Missouri and a Kansas side of Kansas City. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Grew up, was active all my life. So were my two sisters. We had a bodybuilding father who was always in the gym with my two uncles who were also bodybuilders, and just grew up in being active. I was a distance runner. I was actually a pretty darn good distance runner in cross country in high school. And, but I really didn't find the weight room. And even though my dad was a bodybuilder,
right.
And, after I had kids, which I think is perhaps a little bit different for a lot of guys, but I started out as a sports writer. I graduated from Kansas State, go Wildcats. And, started out as a sports writer, eventually made my way into marketing, where I've led marketing teams the last 10 years at software companies, and started my health and fitness, course back in 2012 when I saw a picture of myself, as so many guys do, that jolted me and said, hey, I got to do things a little bit differently. So wife of 13 years, two amazing kids, a dog, living in Colorado. Life is good, man.
That's good. Yeah, that's great. That's good stuff. So, so you are the host of the Fit Dad Fitness podcast. All right. So you've taken your fitness work and, put it into a platform that allows you to get it out. But what makes you channel it to more particularly the dads?
Yeah. Because it's what I know, right? I mean, I'm a dad myself, and I wanted to make sure that I was speaking to something that I know. I'm a huge believer in not talking about things you don't know anything about. And we can get into a big societal discussion about that, but too many people have opinions about things they know nothing about, right?
Right.
I have experience. I'm a working father. I'm a married guy. I have a job. I've got commitments and responsibilities and hobbies and interests that pull me in so many different directions. And I want to be healthy and fit, not only for myself, but for my family, the ones that I love. I want to be there for as long as I possibly can affect. And I wanted to speak to people, other guys who knew my situation and I knew theirs, right? And that's really where I wanted to niche myself when it came to when I got my personal training certification and started Fit Dad Fitness and started the Fit Dad Fitness podcast. It was all about speaking to what I knew and hopefully helping other guys come to see the world in a similar way.
Yeah. Man, I appreciate that so much. I grew up with a dad as a mechanic. And one of the things, we all worked on cars, me and my brothers. My sisters didn't, but us boys, I was changing oil in cars when I was 8 years old. Okay. It was just, we were in dad's shop. And one of the things, even as a little kid, I remember him saying, I wish these engineers would work on these cars before they decide to design these cars. And, like that stuck in my head always, that I do not want to be a guy who speaks on something that I don't actually get my hands muddy with. I don't get greasy with. And boy, we see that right all the time. Like, I do marriage and family work, and I've done it now for 30 years. And when I hear people comment about how somebody, well, he should do this or he should do that, I'm just like, dude, until you walk there, until you put your hands on that greasy thing, do not just shut your mouth, right?
I mean, that's what you want to say sometimes, right? And in the fitness space, I always relate it to, the 22-year-old fitness bro.
Yeah.
Telling dads, no excuses, do it, just do it. You have no excuses. I'm like, dude, you have no idea.
No clue. I haven't slept for the last 3 months, and you're telling me I've got to get up at 5 a.m. and right.
But if you're about excuses,
the
kid throw up in the bathroom at 2:30 in the morning, and you got to clean it up.
Yeah.
You feel at 4:30 in the morning when that alarm goes off to go to the gym.
I love it, man. I hear you completely. So, well, yeah, you've got some experience with that. Also, you've got the experience there in the fitness. It's kind of a little bit like myself in that, like, I'll put my fitness, I'm into the fitness world pretty heavily, but the bulk of my day is spent with dads and families. And so I kind of put that, for my perspective, that one is kind of my expertise. My fitness thing is kind of the sub level. And so, for our work that we do here, we do fitness podcasts, but they're more like occasionally. And we do the dad stuff more regularly. And it's for no other reason than of where I feel most expertise. I love to talk fitness, but I would be more quick to defer to, well, hey, if he's studied more and done more, we want to listen to him. So,
right. Yeah. And, I took fitness as the path because I thought it would be a really good, like, my heart is for dads as well, for sure. I want to speak to dads living active, involved, healthy lives with their kids. And that active and involved and healthy can look a lot of different ways other than just your physical fitness.
Right.
But I thought physical fitness as the end, like the way to speak to dads to an issue they care about so that they can become better in all aspects and areas of their lives, not just, hey, let's get big muscles.
Right. Yeah, that's such a great point. Like I actually struggled when I first started in the fitness world. It was kind of a little bit like it. In my simple mind, I started to really see how the world was defining, or we were allowing the world to define us men. And we are either, in my mind, we were like defining ourselves by the size of the muscle, the size of our truck or speed of our sports car, or the size of our wallet or our power or influence. And so, so that dictated, oh, now I'm a man. And so I'm in the gym and I'm seeing guys that are just, whatever, they're stacked and packed. And I'm like, yeah, they're on their third wife. They have 5 kids by 3 different marriages. And because I'm working in the school, I'm dealing with the fallout of the children. And the harder he lifts, the madder I get, as in my role, And so that's where I really started to say, I need to put, for me, in the fitnessing in its proper perspective. Like I like the way you said, like your fitness now is kind of something you do, not necessarily to bring home a trophy or to stand on a stage. It's to be a good dad. And that's me. I was a triathlete, but I was always, I was at the 10% level. I'd be in the top 10% in the races, but I wasn't bringing home any money. And here I am putting 20 hours a week in training and stuff. And my wife's kind of looking at me like, this hobby is going to end, right? A little bit, or at least scale back. And I really had to have perspective. It's like, no time soon am I going to be contributing to the quality of my family by burning 20 hours a week on bikes and running and swimming. So anyway, just perspective, I think, was important for me.
It is. It's important.
Yeah. So, hey, you've written a book called The Involved Man. Okay. And along with promoting your podcast here, and I want guys to listen to that. But I had a chance to tackle your book, and really, I felt like when I was reading your book, I felt like I was in a little bit of an echo chamber. I'm like, yeah, amen, brother. Yeah. Like, because it was just so much. I mean, here we are in 2 different parts of the country, and we have very similar perspectives because of our experiences, right? And how we see things. And so you actually took the initiative, which I applaud you for, because I've thought about writing a book, and I'm not there yet, right? I don't know if I can muscle that up in my head. I'm not there, so we'll see. But you wrote The Involved Man, and I'd like you to kind of set up, like, why did you write that? Because writing a book's not easy. I don't really care who you are. I've never heard anybody say that was a piece of cake to write that book. So why'd you do that?
Man, I more than anything, and I have barely done any promotion of the book since I actually did it and self-published it. I needed to get these thoughts out of me. Mm-hmm. Because I'll use the word distraught at how men are showing up in the world. Yeah. And you used a great phrase earlier, how the conversation then about who we are and what we are is being dictated back to us because of how we're presenting ourselves, how we're showing up in the world, in the relationships that mean the most to us, or that should mean the most to us. Yeah. How we're showing up in our marriages, how we're showing up in our roles as fathers, as friends, as coworkers and colleagues, or just strangers out on the street. There is such a level of emotional immaturity, man, that is allowing then the conversation about men and what we're about and what we should be about to be dictated back to us. And it really freaking sucks. To put it bluntly, man, it sucks, because boys are remaining boys for far too long, and it is destroying relationships. That is then destroying men's influence in a positive way in the world. Fewer and fewer men are living selflessly in service to those around them who they love the most. They're leeches, they're relationship leeches that are sucking the life out of everything that they touch. Mm-hmm. And I point to that as so much of what ails our society, man. Mm-hmm. it just is heartbreaking for me to see. And whether or not anybody reads this book or not, I needed to get it out because I have been in that situation before. And that's what I want to make sure everybody understands is this is not a book where I'm just pointing the finger at guys and saying, do better. You've read it. I'm giving you examples of the times where I majorly screwed up. And I did not live to the standard of what I've defined as an involved man.
Yeah.
But I also learned from it. And it also helped me. It helped me grow into what I hope is a more self-aware person, a more self-aware man that understands my role is not to just take and take and take and take from the world and from the people who I say I love the most. It is to show up and be there in selfless service to others.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I can't say anything better. Like I said, I just felt like I stepped into an echo chamber. You strong dads out there that listen on a regular basis, you've heard me say in some form or another exactly what Michael's talked about. I feel the passion coming through you, and people that listen to me know that I describe my work that I currently do as it's fed by an angry passion because of what I've seen. I want to make a point there too. Michael, you said I've made those mistakes, and I think that's really important that we point out. Like, the only reason why I recognize is because I saw it in myself.
Yep.
I saw it in myself. I saw myself going down those roads. And that was like, even with the triathlon stuff, like, that was going to be the size of my muscle kind of thing, or the size, or like, I'm going away for another weekend of doing what I want to do. Oh, I happen to have 2 kids at home, but my honey will take care of those. And so it was really that started to kind of open my eyes. I happened to be fortunate enough to work in a school to see guys who maybe were just a step ahead of me at blowing their family apart. And so I'm not saying I was guilty and probably on my way to just not being a very good dude at all. And luckily, because of the position I was in, I'm like, oh wait, I'm tired of cleaning up the mess that these guys are leaving. So what a great point. Let's talk for a second. We're going to talk more specifically about your book, but how do you think it is that we have allowed the world to define us above anything else? Like our character and what we stand for and our values. How do you see it as creeping in and now defining us the way it has?
Let's look at society's message to all of us, but in particular into men. It is get yours. It is build your comfortable life. Do whatever it takes to get yours, to get paid, to get the job, to get the promotion, to get the girl. It is a message of comfort. I write an entire section in the book on the problem with comfort. Ever since my grandfathers, both of them, fought and came home from World War II, all of our technological advances, all of our changes in the workplace, not saying it's all bad, but all of it has been geared towards building comfort. Oh, you don't have the money to buy that thing that you really want? Doesn't matter. Get it now, put it on credit. You don't have the money, but you know what? Rack up some interest and just continue to go into debt to get what you want, right? All the technology that we have.
Michael, everybody's doing it.
Yeah, right.
Right. That's you just get desensitized, right?
Yeah, you do. And there's never been a concerted effort to replace the hard things that were being replaced by technology and this message of comfort with other hard things. I mean, think about it, man. Think of a Tough Mudder or a Spartan race. You have people going out, running in mud for 13 miles, getting shocked, going over obstacles. Like, why is this a thing? What would our grandfathers think of that? And
I'll tell you, yeah. So
go throw some hay bales, go work on a car, go plow a field. And I'm not bemoaning technology, and I'm not bemoaning the advancement. And this is not a good, I'm only 36. So this is not a good old days discussion. It is a comfort discussion. Mm-hmm. And guys have latched onto that. And so everything is about me, my comfort. And when anything gets hard, I bail. I have permission to leave because this isn't serving me. My wife gets angry or upset at me. You know what? She doesn't get me. This is too hard. I'm gone. Yeah. I don't want to have kids. I want the responsibility of having sex, but once I get my girlfriend pregnant, you know what? I don't want kids. I've got to do me. So later, I'm out. I'm a deadbeat dad. I've been in this situation several times in my career. I don't like my boss. He's riding me too hard. I don't agree with his decisions and his opinions or her opinions or her decisions. I'm going to quit. I'm out. I'm not sticking through this. Like, you can point to every aspect of our lives where we have been told comfort is the goal. Sorry, dude. Growth is the goal. Service is the goal. This is why. Because when we do this, then the rest of society gets to point and say, look at these men shirking their duties. Mm-hmm. Look at these weak men bailing. Look at these weak men not stepping up and seeing something through. And it goes back to immaturity, man. It is boys wanting to remain boys for as long as they possibly can. And we then seed the conversation of how we're viewed.
Right. Oh man. Amen on every level there. I've joked many times about, because when I first started in triathlon, my dad, who's a very hard worker, physical worker, out getting things done, would say, why are you on a bike for 2 hours? Just come over here and mow some grass, or, you know what I mean? Because my dad was always not a fit man in the gym, but tougher than nails.
I bet he was a strong, tough dude, man.
Yeah. I mean, to this day, he's 86. And I mean, he's still a strong, ornery old dude, you know, and I think that was part of their fabric, you know. What I think is interesting, though, the natural cry out for our mind and body to want hard things is why men will sign up for things like Spartan races. Spartan races would have never existed 50 years ago because people would have said, why? You know, I need the weekend to rest. I don't need the weekend to go kill myself. Now we rest all week, or we're in comfort zone. And so our body and our mind are screaming out for some kind of challenge. Now, what I'll say to that is I see, one, yes, it's a challenge, but two, it's a challenge I have control over. It's one, yeah, I'm going to do the Spartan race, but I get to control whether I'm going to sign up or not. Yep. So it's kind of a soft approach to challenging ourselves, even though, man, it's the toughest mutter you've ever been through. Yeah, but I got to decide, right?
Any time and nothing happens from it.
Right. Yeah. I don't lose a job or a family or anything, you know? And so even in our attempt to challenge ourselves, we do it in a pretty comfortable way. Uh-huh. Yeah. And so what a dangerous thing, because we become such wussies when it comes to getting smacked in the face and seeing if we're going to be able to stand back up again. And again, I applaud the guys who sign up for the Tough Mudder, because many don't even do that. Many like, no, I don't. Why would I do anything to challenge myself? But man, again, you're preaching the choir, brother. You're preaching the choir. It's, man, and you're so right. The comfort thing is so crazy. So let's talk about your book for a second, because you talked in your book, you broke some things down into different centers in your life, 4 things that need to be the center in your life. Okay. And briefly, you just said like purpose, people, passions, and profession is kind of how you skeletaled out the book. Okay. So help us out a little bit. When I talk to men, what do you mean by purpose? What is the purpose part? And I think they're in a certain order for a reason, right? Purpose, most important, people next, passions, and then profession. Does that order mean something? Is that of importance?
It does. I mean, if you think about it, whenever a man's life, whenever those four pillars, those 4 P's, whatever you want to call them, whenever those are out of that order, a man feels lost. A man feels misguided and with no direction. So or his relationships drastically suffer. So let's look at where most men place their identity. It's in their profession.
Mm-hmm.
What I do to bring home a paycheck each week or each month. When your profession gets priority over your passions, the things that you deeply care most about, or for a lot of guys, when your profession jumps all the way up and above the people in your life, what happens to a guy and his relationships? They all suffer.
Mm-hmm.
He feels lost, misguided. Those people resent him for caring more about his job than them, his wife, his kids, his friends. And when you elevate your profession above those things that you're most passionate about, you feel wayward. You feel like you don't have a whole lot of point to what you're doing because you're not pouring into something that fills up your vessel in other ways, other than just the menial task of getting a paycheck. And it's great when a passion and a profession can combine. That happens all the time.
Right.
Order is really, really important there. When it comes to a purpose, what that means is, and this is at the top for a reason, that your life is guided by a dedication to something bigger than yourself.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it is my faith. I know for you, it is your faith. Our faith in Jesus Christ is what guides us, and the mission that he called us to do,
Mm-hmm.
to love others, love your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and love others as he loved us. I know you know this, but there's an interesting switch that happens in the Bible when we're first given the directive to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. Jesus switches it, man. Jesus comes in and says, love your neighbors or love others as I have loved you. Because, man, Jesus knew we don't like ourselves. We're flawed, messed up human beings who so many of us hate ourselves on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
But Jesus loves us anyway. And when he brought in the new covenant to us, he made that switch. You can read it in the Bible. Love others as you love yourself. Love others as I love you.
Yeah.
And that for me is the guiding purpose. It's bigger than my job, my relationships, the things that I'm passionate about, because it flows down into everything else. It is the guiding principle of my life.
Yeah, boy. And that's huge. Thank you just for helping put some words to all of that. Our ministry is called Rock Solid Families, and the purpose in that title, that name is Matthew 7:24. The builders of the two homes, one builder builds on sand, the other builds on rock. Well, I do a lot of building and construction stuff, and I could prep out a sandy surface in a matter of a half a day with a rake and a couple shovels, get it all smoothed out, it'd be nice and flat and go. If I have to pour a foundation, I got to dig, I got to get concrete. But the idea here is our purpose, if it's not on something solid. And so I want to maybe spend just a second of a time, because not only are we saying you have to have purpose, but for you and I in this conversation, and I know my challenge always is for my strong dads out there that listen, your purpose has to be greater than you, but it has to be Jesus Christ. And the scary thing about that is, well, you could say, well, it just has to be something bigger than you. Well, if I create just something that's bigger, like maybe something bigger than me is the football team I play football for. It's the whole organization. It's something bigger than me. Okay. Well, those are things that are man-made. And I have to be believing in something as my purpose that I didn't make.
Yeah.
Because when I make it, it's flawed. It has me written all over it, all my fingerprints, right? My selfishness and all that. And so I think that's really important for us, as we talk, like there's a reason why I found that Jesus Christ was my ultimate purpose. Just because you said, like, when I love the way I love, that's not cool. Because I love selfishly, I love with human characteristics. It's flawed love, it's moody love, right? It's conditional love. And as you just said there, love the way I loved you, meaning Christ. And that's really important what you just said. And that's why Jesus Christ is that purpose, because he's that perfect teacher. He's that perfect standard or benchmark to work off of.
And when we live our life with that as our purpose, every relationship blossoms out of that, right? I mean, if that's our example, and we consistently point our lives back to that, good things happen on the line.
Yeah.
Doubt. Not that bad things don't happen. It's not a protection against bad things, but it's the belief that these things do happen, and I've got my foundation, to your point earlier, in something that will carry me through.
Yeah, man, good stuff. And then I like your hierarchy, because that makes good sense to me, of the purpose, then the people, right? And then the passions, and then the profession. And that's trying to think about how that settles in our guys' lives when they think about that. The easiest thing to me to grab hold of and have control of, or seemingly to have control of, is profession. Right? It'd be profession and passion, because those are mine. But when I start to deal with people, that's really, I can't control that.
Messy.
Right? So
messier.
It gets messy. And in purpose, especially when I have to humble myself and have something as a greater purpose rather than me. Oh man, my pride and arrogance. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. That's tough. Good stuff there. So let's talk a little bit about your story. You talked about you failed many times. And you were basically brought up in a Christian home.
I was.
But then you kind of, I won't say you fell away from your belief, but you fell away more from your practice.
Correct.
Faith. Would that be accurate to say that?
Yeah, it absolutely would be. I've never gone through a period of my life where I didn't believe that God existed, that I didn't say that Jesus was my Lord and Savior, but I definitely was not living like it. I was not living out that relationship was the most important relationship in my life. And I grew up an achiever, to the point where the achievements and the accolades became the end goal rather than the journey to get there, and bringing others along with me. And so that became an identity. And I got really good at being a chameleon, man. I was the student class president all 4 years of high school. I was valedictorian, straight A's. I was on scholarship to Kansas State. I was going to be the engineering student, just all these things. I talked about the cross country, the success I had in cross country. I was in honor society and fellowship of Christian athletes and science Olympiad and debate team. Like I did everything. And behind the scenes, I was a mess. I was a wreck. I was partying. I was driving home drunk. I was and I never got into, I was stealing stuff. I never got into, I'll say quote unquote, like real bad trouble, but it could have gone there real quick. I always had somebody to be that governor to pull me back. Thank God. But I was just not living. I was living out two different worlds, two different personalities. And I even say this in the book. I understand there are people in life, in their lives, who have had it way worse, who have gone way worse than me. The rub for me was that I was not living out the life that I knew I was capable of and that I wanted to. I was putting on a show for a lot of other people, and that made me miserable. Just a wreck, an absolute wreck. And it ended up costing me relationships. It ended up getting me into relationships that were traumatizing. Like I was engaged to my high school girlfriend, on and off high school girlfriend. She cheated on me and we ended things. But that relationship, that marriage would have ended so horrifically bad. Like I know you work with families. I would have been one of your worst case scenarios. I think it would have never worked. But I was searching for something. I was searching for a title or a position or a name or a stature or something to make people look at me and say, Mike's got it figured out. He's doing what he do. And behind the scenes, like I said, Not the case. Not the
My
case at
God.
all.
I want to maybe retrack a little bit on something that maybe you didn't say directly, but you said it, and I'm picking up on it. We like to watch the movie The Knight's Tale. You ever seen Knight's Tale?
I haven't. No.
It's great movie. Got to see it. It's got a lot of good old classic rock in it, but it's kind of a whole spoof on the night of or the life of a knight. Okay, doing the jousting and the lances and everything. Really good stuff. But there's a scene in there where the princess is just a beautiful lady, and this knight is falling for her. Okay, and she's all distraught over a kind of a little kind of breakup that they go through. And she sees this, she comes into this church, and this priest or brother or monk or somebody, he comes up and he's like, oh my, to be cursed with such beauty. And it just really stands out as like, we never talk about, she's so beautiful, but to be cursed with such beauty. Okay. Like as if we would never look at beauty as being a curse, right? Yeah. It'd be like, man, wow, that's awesome. She's beautiful. Okay. We have a curse here, and our curse, it leads me to what I want to say here. So here you are, you're valedictorian, you are Mr. Achievement, you're Mr. Likeable, you're a smart dude, obviously, you're an athletic dude. I have come to see that many of these could be looked at, if they're not understood properly, as a curse. A curse in the sense of we fool ourselves into thinking that we're something greater, or we manipulate with it. Well, I'm a smart guy. I can do this, or people should respect me or honor me, or I should have an easier path, or whatever. Or I know better than God. Because look at, I was a 4.0. Okay. And I jokingly say in some of my shows, I am blessed to be a very average academic dude. In other words, I ate humble pie very early in my school years. I was like, man, this is tough. I'm not very good at this. But I look at one of the things that we're running into, especially with a lot of young professional males. They were achievers. They're either already got the fat wallet, or they got the promotion, or they're super smart and they've got level of influence. And how much we are fooled into thinking that we're something greater than we are. What is your thought on that? Because that's what I heard with you. Like, man, you're the poster child for everything that you ought to be.
Yeah.
And you're falling apart.
I'm sure people would read my book or hear what I just said there and think like, oh, poor little middle-class white kid from middle America, valedictorian, and well, poor him. What it did be, and this relates back to the discussion we had about purpose. What happened is when you achieve those things and you are consistently told, oh my gosh, you're now the student council president, and you're the valedictorian, you are the best, you are the greatest, you are achieving all these things, and it's never framed, or you never frame it for yourself in the context of, okay, how can I take this and build upon it to help others, to pour into others? It became a very manipulative thing. I used it to then manipulate my world. Mm-hmm. Just in class, I could get out of assignments because it was the teacher's pet. I didn't have to do it because they just trusted, oh, Michael's got this. He's smart. He knows what he's doing. He's funny. He's good. He can just go do his own thing. I got out of so many assignments in high school by manipulating my teachers, because I built that reputation of the achiever and the good guy, the good boy. Right?
He's going to pull it out. He's not going to let us down.
Yeah, he'll be fine. And that flowed into relationships. That flowed into my relationships with girls. That flowed into my relationships with my friends. It was what I mentioned earlier. You become a leech. You become addicted to being told you're the best, you're the greatest, achieve this, and you've got it made. Everything will be given to you. And it does. Make no mistake about it. You get to a point where you get the benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand I even get even more so the benefit of the doubt because I am a man, I am white, and I came from an upper middle class family. I understand that I've got the benefit of the doubt in a lot of situations. And I abused that benefit of the doubt because, as I mentioned in my book, I grew up in the church. I didn't have a relationship there. I didn't truly understand what it meant to have a relationship with Jesus, because I grew up in a very what's the word? Not legalistic. I grew up in a very legalistic church where it was more about where you sat in your pew on Sunday than what you were actually hearing from your pew on Sunday.
Yeah.
The little old ladies in the church and the grumpy old men in the church would get mad if you didn't sit in the same place.
You're in my chair.
Yep. So I saw church as an action rather than a relationship. I saw God as a teller and not a partner. And so that misguidance there, or that lack of guidance, took me down some really tragic paths. Like, I hurt a lot of people along the way. And never to the point where anyone's life was ruined, but it certainly could have been had I not figured it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And figuring it out, I just recently had the opportunity to interview a person with a long history of addiction, and that figuring it out, because you and I probably both know way too many people with addiction issues.
Yeah.
One of the most frustrating things that I see with the people I work with addiction is that they're in and out of rehab multiple times, and so those of us who work with them are like, oh yeah, I wonder how long this will last. We get very cynical and everything. And what does it take for somebody to figure it out? Or what we always say, what does it take for you to finally surrender, for you to finally give in? And the way that we know that we are giving in or surrendering is when we stop the manipulation process. So we deal with people all the time that are dealing with addictions and those kind of things. And even though they're saying all the right things, they're working their magic. Whether it's charm, whether it's intellect, whether it's capability, they're working it like, okay, well, I'll do this for a little while. And they're still holding on to self.
Yep.
And so that whole idea of, well, what does it take? Your experience is similar to anybody who's gone through rehab, and that you had that awakening and you surrendered to it. Right now, like you said, well, somebody might say, well, you're a guy who had it made anyway. It doesn't matter. What matters is you surrendered. That's where the life change comes from.
And, I wasn't abusing drugs. I was underage, and you could definitely say I was abusing alcohol, but
yeah.
I was abusing what I had. I was abusing my talents and abilities and smarts to manipulate the world around me. And so, yeah, it wasn't drugs, but it was a form of abuse. I was abusing and addicted to achievement, the high of being told you're the greatest, you're the best. And that's really hard to get out of it.
Yeah, man. Good stuff. So one of the things that I read through your book, and I'm at best an average reader. I'm a doer. And you talked about learning by trial and error. And, I think about this like reading your book or listening to our podcast or whatever. We always try to give insights because we're hoping to maybe help somebody that they don't run into some of the walls that maybe we've run into. But you mentioned in your book about, the trial and error, the benefit or the purpose of trial and error. And I have to say, I want guys to learn from what we're talking about or from reading your book. But sometimes the best learning is slamming into the wall, because then when you finally hit it, you go, oh, this is why I have to do this. And so, your story to me was all about, your parents could have told you everything in the world about, Michael, here's how you live right. And you could have gone, yeah, sure. Okay, good. But it wouldn't have meant anything.
Yeah.
It took you slamming your head on the wall before you went, oh, now.
Yeah.
So trial and error, speak to that. Like, we want to help guys, but I honestly don't want a guy to do what I say just because I said to do it, because if it doesn't mean anything to them, it's like going to church because I have to, not because I want to.
And that's definitely how I grew up. It goes back to comfort, man. Trial and error is a whole lot of willful discomfort. You are putting yourself into a situation, into a relationship, into a place where you have no idea what's next, but you got to work through it. You got to get uncomfortable, and you've got to try and find a way out, a positive way out. With your relationship with your wife, if you're not communicating well, you've got to find different ways to communicate. And that can be really freaking uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Especially if, how do I put this? So many of us get into marriage for the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And I say this in the book. Marriage is not, oh, she makes me feel good. This is good for me. Marriage is, I want to learn how to love this woman the way she deserves to be loved.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is an uncomfortable place for us to be again. Because by searching for how your wife wants to be loved means you have to give up some comfort there to get to that point. You have to give up your own comfort where, okay, this isn't exactly like how I want to be loved, but it's for her. The point of marriage is to learn how to love each other well. And so many of us go into marriage because of obligation, because of the tax benefits, because of, she makes me feel like $1 million. Well, that eventually goes away.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're 15, 10, 15, 30 years into a marriage, making you feel like $1 million every day probably isn't going to happen. But you have the ability to do everything you can every day to make her feel like $1 million every day. That's a decision that you can wake up with every single day. And it is uncomfortable and it's hard. And some days you don't want to do it because you had an argument the night before and you went to bed mad. Like, it's the trial and error of finding what works in marriage, the trial and error of finding what works in fitness, the trial and error of what works with your boss or your coworker who you can't stand at work so that you can have an actual like good working relationship. All of these things take immense amount of work that is deeply uncomfortable at the start, but then you find something that works and it gets a little bit easier. And then you begin to make these connections. And the craziest thing is when you do this, it comes back around to serve you. You serve others well, they want to reciprocate. You get what you want in the end darn near every single time. And if not, you've got to be okay with saying, that's okay. I poured into that relationship. I did what I thought was the best and the right thing to do. And I'm going to leave it there. And I'm going to let them shelve it, take it, toss it aside, deal with it how they will. But I did what I set out to do.
Right.
I don't know if that answers your question, man. But
No, I think that it's huge. Well, I think you, especially to our guys maybe that aren't married out there that may listen, this kind of to me always speaks to like when I work with a couple and I'm asking a man to serve kind of as you just described, to love even when she's maybe not lovable or that kind of thing. It makes it a whole lot, I'll say easier, but also more palatable to both when she's approaching the marriage as you are, when she's loving you like Christ loves, because that's when you start to see what you just said, that idea of, she will reciprocate. And the next thing you know, you're trying to outlove each other and everybody wins. And so it speaks to the value of being equally yoked. Right. In other words, we're both in this together and we see our marriage from a very similar purpose and light of how we're going to proceed. And with Christ being like, okay, well, we want to love like Christ did. So to our young guys maybe out there that aren't married, this is a huge point to be, hey, just because she's hot looking, that as you said, that's going to fade. Man, her being equally yoked in your value, your belief system, your purpose that we talked about, like you mentioned earlier, you guys both equally yoked in the purpose part really centers this.
And let's be real clear too, man. You have to love her in the way that she views love.
Yes.
Like let's take me and my wife's relationship. And so many guys are like this. I could approach our relationship as she's at work right now. So I could clean the kitchen and I could vacuum the floors and I could clean up the bathrooms and clean and fold the laundry and do all of these tasks and chores. Men are very like, give me a task and I'm going to do it and I'm going to get it done. And she'll come home and say, great, the house is clean. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Because to my wife, and we've agreed on this, we're equally yoked in the management of the household. Mm-hmm. Like I cook, she doesn't. She takes care of a lot of the other household chores. I do a lot of the yard. Like we're equally yoked. We both clean up after dinner, all that stuff. She doesn't view that as me showing her love. I may think, look at all that I did for you.
Right.
My wife, what is important is after the kids go to bed and it's just the two of us sitting on the couch right outside the door here, that I turn down the TV and we talk.
Yeah.
And I ask her, how can I pray for you? How can I be praying for you? Like, what are you going through? What's going on at work? Like, talk to me, babe. Like that to my wife is love. It is that quality. I mean, I know the 5 love languages, we're getting into a little bit of that language here, but that connection and that communication and that quality time means everything to my wife.
Yeah. Yeah. It's huge.
She's got to understand that I view things very differently too. I'm a words guy, man. If I do clean the house and I do cook a great dinner, I got to be told, man. Mm-hmm. Like, don't just say, okay, the house is clean. Like, oh my gosh, this food is so good. Thank you for making this. This must have taken you a really long time. Boom. Like I'm huge. Like I'm the man. And I feel loved in that moment. You gotta love your partner how they want to be loved, not how you expect to love them.
Yeah. Good stuff. Boy, we talk that frequently around here, and it's just for that reason. And eventually people can hang in a marriage for a long time, but they starve to death in the marriage because they're not fed the right way. And just because they respect each other or they, that they honor the covenant of marriage, doesn't mean the marriage is healthy. Mm-hmm. So these are the things that are so important about us as men, about really the sacrificial love, right? The agape love, and just like, what do you need? What do you need? Well, how can I serve you? What can I do? And when we're both doing that, you guys out there listening, I'm just telling you, your wife will melt when you start pouring into her heart, and loving her the way she wants to be loved. So, it's huge stuff. All right. Good stuff. Okay. We're going to start to wrap things up. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I always like to put at the end of our shows our challenge to our dads out there. Okay. And mostly because, I always think that if you listen to a show and you turn it off, you never think about it again. It's like, well, most of us guys are out of sight, out of mind. And so give them just a tad bit of homework. What's a challenge that you have for our guys out there if we're really going to start to impact the home in a better, more positive way?
I came across this recently, so I can't take entire credit for it, but I've put my own spin on it. And it is win your morning. Be victorious with how you start your day, because that will carry over into everything else that you do the rest of that day. Mm-hmm. It is my time with Jesus. It is taking a pause and my time with God, and it's working out. It's moving my body. You do those two things as soon as you get up, and your day, man, will be good. It may not be perfect. No day ever is, but you will be set up in such a way that you will be able to handle the rest of the day because you've gotten the exercise in, you've released the endorphins, you've loosened up, you've felt better. Ask my wife when I get done with a workout and I come upstairs at about 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning after I'm done, and ask her what my mood is. I'm bouncing off the walls. Like,
will you just leave this room, please?
and then my time with Jesus, whether that is journaling as a conversation to God, or whether that is just praying in silence after my workout. You've done that. You've moved your body and you've spent time with Jesus, man. The rest of the day is set up for you to be able to tackle, to be on the offensive rather than the defensive, which I feel like so many of us are. So my challenge is, when you're morning, move. The first thing that you do when you get up in the morning, move your body. I don't care if it's for 10 to 15 minutes and you're doing push-ups and pull-ups, move your body, and then spend time with God, spend time with Jesus. Even if it's just, God, today I'm concerned about this. I need your help. Be with me. That is a less than 5 second prayer that I just said right there that can put me in the right mindset for the rest of the day. Yeah. That I know God's going to be with me because I asked him to. And win your day. That's my challenge. Win your morning.
Great stuff. Good deal. Well, Michael, I thank you so much. So let's, at the risk of stealing some of my listeners, how can people listen to your podcast and get to your book?
Absolutely, man. And thank you so much. This has been, I don't get to talk about this stuff as much. I'm usually all deep in the fitness stuff. Yeah. So I appreciate the conversation so much. And I'm so honored and proud to have connected with you, man. And love the work that you're doing. I hope I don't steal any listeners because you've got an amazing thing going on here. The podcast is the Fit Dad Fitness Podcast. You can search for it on all the platforms. Just look up Fit Dad Fitness. I'll be there. FitDadFitness.com is the hub of everything that I do. And then you can go to theinvolvedman.com. That'll take you to a landing page on my site that will have links to everywhere you can order it, but you can order it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or through my publisher.
All right. Well, excellent stuff. So again, we thank you very much. I thank you for the work that you're doing. Let's keep beating the drum. Let's keep getting this stuff out there. In closing up, I just want to thank our sponsors again, Casey's Outdoor Solutions and Crimer's Beer House. We thank you guys. Help us out with these messages, guys, whether it's the Fit Dad Fitness Podcast or whether it's Strong Dads. Get on there and give us 5-star ratings. Move these conversations to the top of the platforms so that this type of talk replaces some of the other junk that we just get inundated with. We've got to get these conversations moving, and it's got to be more commonplace. And so these are the better things, I think, that are going to ultimately, as you said, the wrecking ball in our culture is not political. It's not economical. It's family. And if we don't get this conversation out to a healthier place, all that other stuff, they're just symptoms. Politics, economics, those are symptoms of a broken family. So thanks so much for what you're doing.
Thank you.
We're going to close things up. And so again, I want to say thanks, and we will be tuning in, and I will keep pushing your work, and you guys keep doing that for us, and let's have fun doing it. All right.
Thank you much, man.
All right. You guys go out there and be some strong dads.
I'd like to welcome Casey's Outdoor Solutions as a new sponsor to our podcast. Casey's is a premier garden center and gift shop located in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Casey's offers a wide selection of plants, landscaping materials, home and garden decor, and gifts for every occasion. Casey's is committed to providing exceptional service, a unique shopping experience, and value to every customer. Stop in and see what makes Casey's so unique. Located at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana, or call 812-537-3800. Let Casey's help you add beauty to your home.